Okay, let's see if the connection works this time. Let's see. Waiting for it. It looks like we have good connection. Hey, let's see if the connection works this time. Yep. Excellent. All right, let's get back to work. As the description below states, this is Copywork of Sonke Ahrens' How to Take Smart Notes. Excellent book on the slipbox method of note-taking. And let's continue where we left off just a few minutes ago. So let me go ahead and make sure that we have everything pulled up, ready to go. Checking the all levels. Let's see here. Bada boom, bada bang. Going over here, let's check this. That's the old one. There we go. Okay, let's proceed. Let me get my glasses on. These light blocking glasses have been working tremendously well. If I can see where I put them. It's only one of the problems is where exactly did they go? Did I put them over? Yeah, I did. Okay. All right. So let's proceed. We are currently on, or I'm currently on page 47. And let's carry on. So we had just done reliable. Let's see here. Rather, the things that are supposed to be done in your brain. Let's go ahead and put this on top so we can pay attention to it and go back to the writing. Make this a little smaller. There we go. Okay, as proper note-taking, the promotion of brainstorming on its own, it is not such a great choice. It is neither objective nor reliable. Speaking of the brain, right? Moving forward, so this was actually a hyphenated section, and so we're going to do hyphens. Hyphen, hyphen, and then two quite important aspects in academic. So two quite important aspects of academic or non-fiction writing. There's writing. Two aspects of non-fiction writing. The promotion of brainstorming as a starting point. The promotion. Promotion is an interesting one. So this would be promote. And then shun would be simply adding the shun ending. Let's go ahead and check and see if that is correct. Even shorter, you don't need to have the T, so it just goes from O to shun. The promotion of brainstorming is as a starting point, let's see here, is all the more surprising, is all the more, and then surprising, that should be surprising. Let's see if that is surprise. And that is correct. The only difference is that we need to have an E attached to that. Is all the more surprising. As it is not the origin of most ideas. As it is not the origin of most ideas. Colon. The things you are supposed to find in your head. The things you are supposed to. I think that is supposed. Let's check that. Yes, that's supposed. To do. No, the things you are supposed to find. To find in your head by brainstorming in your head by brainstorming, and I will be right back. By brainstorming. And we're back at it, so. Did the, oh, that must have been bumped or something. Oh well, doesn't matter. So we're back. Let me go ahead and pause the music over here. And let's continue. So let's proceed. Let us proceed. Going back over here to Journal. And we go ahead and continue on. The things you are supposed to find in your head, the things you are supposed to find in your head by brainstorming, usually, so that's usually, don't have their origins in there. Usually don't have their origins in there. Rather, they come from the outside. Rather, they come from the outside. So outside is two put together. Rather, they come from the outside. Through reading, having discussions, and listening to others. Colon. So colon. Through reading, having discussions with others. Let's see. Rather, through reading, having discussions, and listening to others, having discussions, and listening to others. Let me check listen. That might need an L-I-S-T-N. Yes, L-I-S-N. L-I-S-N. And listening to others. Okay. Through all the things that could have been accompanied, through all the things, so comma. So he's still making a case for why it's important to take notes in this way. They come from the outside, through reading, having discussions, and listening to others, through all the things, through all the things that could have been, accompanied and often even, so accompanied, and often even, would have been improved, would have been, yeah, would have been improved. Improved is that I-M-P? I think so. And then important is I-M-P-R. Let's check that. No, improved is I-M-P-R. And important is I-M-P. That would have improved that would have been improved by writing? Okay. The advice. And I will be right back. Oh, for some reason it looks like the journal page was not updated because it's stuck. Bother. Let's go ahead and set that to the correct level. We'll share it. Okay, there we go. And then we'll do the same for the Gregg website. Open the selector and select Gregg Shorthand Lookup. There we go. Share that. Now we're set. Okay. Let's proceed. Okay. All right. Here we go. So we were on finds. No, the advice. The advice, too late. The advice to think about what to write about. The advice to think about. The advice to think about what to write about. What to write about before you write. Before you write comes both too early and too late. Comes both too early and too late. Comes too early and too late. Too late, as you already have passed up the chance. Too late, as you have already passed up the chance. What's that? As you have already passed up the chance to build up written resources. To build up written resources. That's not resources. I think the RE, it doesn't need an. I think that's resources because it's source and then re in front of it. Correct. Good. Good, good. Let's go ahead and move it up a little bit. Resources. Okay. When you face the white sheet of the paper, when you face the white sheet of the paper, or the blank screen, or the blank screen. But also too early. Oh, this is once again, but also too early if you try to postpone every serious. If you try to postpone, that should be postpone. It's one I haven't done before. Ah, very nice. Post is a prefix, so therefore we can keep it separate. Postpone is below. Okay. If you can postpone, if you try to postpone every serious, every, and then I know we just did serious. I think it's Ceros, right? I think it's Ceros. No need for the U hook, but pretty close. Serious. Every serious. Content related. Content related. So it's content, and then related is related. Work until you have made a decision on the topic. So until is this guy. Until you have made a decision. Straighten this up a little bit. A decision on the topic. Okay, so that was the end of the paragraph. Now let's go back and reread this, but I will be right back after this. Okay. So now let's go ahead and read back through this sentence or this paragraph. Over here, starting at this point with as proper note-taking. As proper note-taking is rarely taught or discussed, it is no wonder that almost every guide on writing recommends to start with brainstorming. If you have not written what? Along the way. If you have not written along the way, the brain is needed, is not, and then this is the only, is not the what? The brain is not, is indeed, yep, is indeed the only place to turn to. On its own, it is not such a great choice. It is neither what is that? It is neither nor reliable. It is neither objective. It is neither objective nor reliable. Two quite important aspects of academic or non-fiction writing. Was that a period? It was a period. So let me go ahead and drop that in there. Okay, continuing. The promotion of brainstorming as a starting point is all the more surprising as it is not the origin of most ideas. The things you are supposed, yes, the things you are supposed to find in your head by brainstorming, usually, let me check about usually. Yes, usually, let's make it just a little longer because I think it is a, no, because it's usually. Usually do not have their origin in there. Rather, come from the outside. Let me confirm that that is outside. Yes. Through reading, having discussions, and listening and listening. I need to make listening just a little bit bigger. And listening to others through all the and then that is that could through all the things that could have been through all there we go through all the things that could have been accompanied and often even would have been improved by writing. The advice to thinking, if that is to thinking, then that to think about what to write about before you write comes both too early, Let me check if that is both. Yes. Comes both too early and too late. Too late as you have already faced passed up the chance to that should be build up, but I think I did it incorrectly. Yeah, build up, so it should be flipped around. I did that backwards. To build up written resources when you face the white sheet or the paper or the blank screen, but also too early if you try to postpone every serious content is content. Let me check that again. I'm missing a T on content. Every content related work until, make this just a little smaller, until you have made a decision on the topic. And that's the end of the paragraph. I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. Next paragraph, this is the last paragraph of page 47. If something comes too early, let's do the paragraph marker. If something comes too early and too late at the same time, and too late at the same time, it is not possible to fix it. It is not possible to, let me add another page below here. This is page number 5. It's not possible to fix it. So we have to, and then fix is interesting because it gives us a chance to work on that little, it's a modified S form to make the X. I don't think that is correct. Yeah, it curves straight down. It's almost like an SH. To fix. Yeah, almost. Like a combination of the two. There we go. To fix. Too early and too late to fix it. To fix it by rearranging the order. By rearranging check and see if that is rearrange. That is indeed rearrange by rearranging the order. That's word. Order is this one. By rearranging the order as the fictional linearity, as the order, as the fictional. Let's see if fictional is in the dictionary. It is. And we have to have the E added. As the fictional linearity. Linearity. I don't know if linearity is in the dictionary. It is not. Linear T. If you do linear T, that's linearity. Yes, because there's no other word, there's no other variant of linearity. So if we just do linearity, then that's enough. If we just add a T, linearity, to the lineup, then we're good. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that over here. We're going to do linear, and then T, we're going to cut a T right through the center. Like that. And that would be linearity. Is the problem in itself? Is the problem in itself? Taking smart notes is the precondition. Taking smart. It's been a while since I've had that, which is funny because it's the title of the book. And it curves the other direction, that's right. So, taking smart notes is the precondition. Is the precondition. So this is the precondition. This is condition. That might be precondition. Oh, they're separate terms. Hold on. Preconception, precondition. Why did I choose to keep them separate? That is incorrect. That is incorrect. It should be PRE, precocious, preconception. Yes. Precondition is incorrect because, in fact, if we look up any version of pre, I don't see any variant where the PR acts as a prefix. As you see, any of the variants here, none of them have pre as a prefix. So we're going to put those two together, which means that I need to add that and make that alteration in the dictionary. Precondition. Okay. And, but, I mean, other than that, that's nice. That means that I'm actually growing in my knowledge of Gregg, because I'm able to see that that is a failure in the system right off. And there's precondition. I will be right back. Okay, back to work. So we just did precondition. As a precondition, taking smart notes is the precondition to break with the linear order. Is the precondition to break with the linear order. Okay. There is one reliable sign. There is one reliable sign if you managed to structure your workflow, if you managed, I think that would be a T at the end. Let's check that. If you They're using the im in stroke. They don't have the a vowel in between. If you managed to structure your workflow, structure your workflow according to the fact that writing is not a linear process. According to the fact that writing is not a linear process. Comma. That's not a period, comma. But a circular one. But, so circle, I've done circle before, and then what would circular be? I'm going to guess, I'm going to write it down, and then I'm going to check. So I'm going to guess that it is circle, and then we do an oo, circle. Let's see if I'm correct. Okay, I mean it's even easier, which is nice. Oh, okay, that's very good to know. So circular, self, and circ are the same S prefix, just swapped in their order. Self turns to the beginning of the line of writing, and circ turns away from the line of writing. Circ, away, self, toward. Okay. Circ away, self toward. So this is circular. But a circular one. The and then colon. The problem of finding a topic is replaced. The problem of finding a topic is replaced. This is going to be R. Let's see if this is correct. This is R, P, L, A, S, and then the T at the end. Let's see if that's correct. Replace, and that is correct. One thing that I do want to check is problem. PR, okay, you do need to have the BL. PRBL, PRBL for problem. There we go. The problem of finding a topic is replaced, and it is replaced by the problem. And what's the next portion? Because we just finished page 47. By the problem of having too many topics to write about. Is replaced by the problem of having too many topics to write about. Having trouble finding the right topic, having trouble, so that's TRBL, I believe, or it might just be TRB. I think trub is just TRB. Well, let's go ahead and check that. Good. And they want a sharp turn between the R and the B. Having trouble finding the right topic. Having trouble finding the right topic to write about. No, having trouble finding the right topic, not to write about. That is a symptom. Having trouble finding the right topic is a symptom. Symptom is that's simple, and then so if you take symptom, TM afterwards, let's take a look and see if that is correct, is a symptom. Oh, it's even more, it's a different philosophy altogether. You take the P out. Symptom. Okay? That's good to know. But it is an SETM. And then symptomatic would be the circle afterwards, is a symptom of the wrong attempt. Of the wrong attempt. That is AT, attempt, and then maybe a P at the end. Let's see. That might be attempt. Let's take a look. No, attempt is, oh, interesting. Tension and attempt. No, what stroke is that? There's another one that has that. It's content. Content and attempt are the same except for the initial character. Fascinating. Okay. Because content has the extra T on the end. So attempt, you have to have attempt. And that makes sense because when you say it quickly, attempt, it makes sense. Okay? Of the wrong attempt to rely heavily on having trouble finding the right topic is a symptom of the wrong attempt to rely heavily. And for this, I'll be right back. Okay, back at it. Apologize for jumping in and out. I just have some other responsibilities that I have to intersperse with work. You know how it is. Good old life. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, having trouble finding the right topic. Is a symptom of the wrong attempt to rely heavily on the limitations of the brain. Is a wrong attempt to, I'm going to say that rely, I don't think it requires the E to rely. Let's see if that's correct. Okay, now I added that. Did I add rely? Is it anywhere else? There's really no other reliance. Oh, there's a place where we can check if, yes. So reliance and rely are the same family of word, and they both, so reliance in the dictionary has an RE, so rely should also have an RE. So I was correct when I made it the first time. Okay. To rely heavily. Oh, now heavily, that's one that I did here. I remember. Yes, this is the one that I wanted to do heavy, and then lee, and then the dictionary itself said to do a loop, the loop ending analogy. Which, now I understand why. I understand why they want the loop ending, why this is the loop ending here for heavily. The reason for it is because you only do a double loop if you are dealing with a brief form. If you're dealing with the word itself, and it's an E ending, and you have to turn that into an L ending, then you change it to a loop. Okay, that makes sense. So I need to change that back. Okay. To rely heavily on the limitations of the brain. To rely heavily on the, and then limitations. Limitation. Limitation. That's going to be limit. Limitation. Let's see what that is. Limitation. Okay. Even easier. The limitation of the brain. Of the brain. Not the inevitable problematic starting point. Not the inevitable, isn't it bowl to bowl ending is a disjointed, it's a disjointed B. So and then tibble. Let's see if that is correct. Oh. Okay, a disjointed B is only for ability. Inevitable. So we have inevt, and then bull ending. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that here. Inevitable. The inevitable problematic. So this is where we can do I remember we were doing problem, and then the circle at the end is for attic or matic. So the problematic, and let's confirm that that is the case. That is correct. The B is a little bit too... There we go. There we go. So we have problematic, starting point, as most study guides insinuate. As most study guides insinuate. I'm going to take a stab at it. So we have in, sin, in, sin, insinuate. Let's see if that's right. Okay, insinuate, uate. Okay, that's interesting. Insinuate ending is an eut. Okay, uate. So that would be like perpetuate, insinuate, perfecate. No, because that's not a uat ending. So here we go. Insinuate. If you, on the other hand, develop your thinking, if you, on the other hand, develop your thinking, and I will be right back. I have to go check in. Develop your thinking, I'll be right back. Okay, back at it. So if you, on the other hand, develop your thinking, in writing, open questions will become clearly visible. Open questions will become clearly visible. Visible is that one. I'm going to guess that that is visib, something like this. Let's go ahead and see if that is the case. It is a variation of that, so it's not quite as long, which is nice. So we have visible. And hopefully you guys can see. So when I was searching for it, can you guys see that? Is that coming up? Yes, it is. Good. So we have visible. Not quite as visible. Okay. It will become clearly visible and give you an abundance. It will become clearly visible and give you an abundance. A, B, D, N, S. Oh, so this one's different. You have to do abun and then DNS. Abundance. Give you an abundance of possible topics to elaborate further in writing. An abundance of possible topics to elaborate further in writing. To elaborate further in writing. And that's the end of the paragraph. So let's go ahead and read back through. If something comes too early and too late at the same time, so let's go back to that paragraph, which was, let's look for our last paragraph marker, which is here, and let us proceed. If something comes too early and too late at the same time, it is not possible to fix it by rearranging the order as the fictional linearity is the problem in itself. Take smart notes. I think that should be taking smart notes. Right? Let's check. Taking smart notes, yes. Okay. Taking smart notes is the precondition to break with the linear order. There is one reliable sign. And sign, yes, because side has no final consonant, so this is sign. There is one possible sign if you managed to structure your workflow according to the fact that writing is linear. Hold on, what is that? Is not, that writing is not a linear process, but a circular one. The problem of finding a topic is replaced. Yeah, that's replaced. Is replaced by the problem of having too many topics to write about. Having trouble finding the right topic is a symptom of wrong attempt of the wrong attempt to rely heavily on the limits of the brain. In the inevitable problematic start. Usually, hold on, I'm blanking. I can't quite make sense of what is being said. The inevitable problematic starting point. Ooh, starting point. Okay, that is, boom. Need to do a dot right there. So let's go back to the last sentence and see if I can make sense of it. Where was that? Relying heavily, to rely heavily on the limitation of limitations. I need to add an S there for limitations of the brain. Not the inevitable problematic starting point. What is that? That's as. Let's go ahead and straighten it up a little bit. As more study guides, as most study guides insinuate. If you, on the other hand, develop your thinking in writing open questions, if on the other hand you develop, I think I missed a U, right? You develop your thinking in writing open questions. If you develop your thinking in writing open, I forgot the comma, that's why. There we go. Open questions will become clearly visible and get you been abundance of possible topics to elaborate further in writing. Okay. Now let's go ahead and move forward to the next sentence. Here we go. After many years of working with students, I am convinced that the attempt I am, and what is I am, and then what is convinced? That's convinced. I am convinced. Let's check and see if that is correct. Yes, and the S is turned back in on the stroke, on the in stroke. I am convinced that the attempt of these study guides, I am convinced that the, and here's attempt again, attempt is attempt to, the attempt of these study guides is to squeeze, not is to squeeze, and squeeze was S, I believe that's squeeze. Wait. S-Q-U-E-E. Yes. To squeeze. What a fun word. What a fun word. To squeeze a nonlinear process. So this one would be nonlinear, right? Nonlinear process, like writing. Like does not require the diphthong. Like writing into a linear order, into a linear order, is the main reason for the very problems, is the main reason for the many problems, for the very problems, for the very problems and frustrations they promise to solve, for the very problems and frustrations. Let me see if I can develop it. U hook S, Frustrations. No frustrate. No, frustrate. F-R-U hook. And then shun. Let's see here. It would be, can at least get started. It would be F-R, here we go. F-R-U, and then frustration. Frustration. Let's see if that is something even similar. And that's it exactly. Beautiful. So then we need frustrations. Okay. So we go frustrations. There we go. They promised, what is that? Is the main reason for the very problems and frustrations they promise to solve. So they, and then promise is P-R-M-E-S. They promise. Let's do this over here. They promise to, that'd be solve. I wonder if that's solve. We'll see. They promise to solve. Let's see. First off, I need to check promise. That's correct. A little less of a hook for the promise. More simple. They promise to, and then what would be solve? For this, we do need to have the L and the V. Okay? They promise to solve. Okay. They promise to solve. Period. How can you not have trouble? How can you not have trouble? How can you not have trouble finding a topic if you believe finding a topic if you believe you have to decide on one before you have done? You have to decide on one before you have to decide on one before you have done your research, before you have done your research, comma, have read and learned about something. Have read and learned about something. Okay? Let's go ahead and straighten this up here. Have read and learned about something. And I will be right back. Okay. Here we are, back at it. So let's continue. Let's see here. Maybe I should do that. Maybe in the chat, I'll probably just drop a little note about being back. That way anyone can see it. Okay, so here we go. Question. Must you have read and learned about something? How can you not feel threatened by an empty page? How can you not feel threatened? I think that's threatened, but let's check. That's correct, yes. Threatened. And so you do add the T. Threatened by an empty page. By an empty. This is going to be empty. Let's see if that is correct. Okay. I was wrong. It is just empty. Like so. By an... We need to make a little bit more space. By an empty... And I'm going to use my shorthand, the truncation for page. By the empty page. Okay. How can you not feel threatened by an empty page? By an empty page. if you have literally nothing at hand to fill it with. If you have nothing, if you have literally nothing, literally nothing. Is nothing, does it have to have no thing, or is it just the in stroke? It is just the in stroke, okay? The in stroke followed by the dot. If you have literally nothing at hands to fill it with, at hand to fill it with, to fill it with. Now, what was it? Was it full? Full is the one that we decided to use fill and fulfill. That's right, because full is has the U stroke. That's right. So fill it. Fill is just the F stroke. It's like for and fill. Okay? Here we go. If you have nothing if you have literally nothing at hands to fill it with, who can blame you for procrastinating? Who can blame you for, and then procrastinating? This is going to be and then is that tenate? Let's see. Oh. Procrastinate. No need for the ST at the end, and everything else is correct. That is procrastinate, okay? So we've got all these values here. Procrastinate. Who can blame you for procrastinating if you find yourself, so that's procrastinating, if you find yourself stuck. So if you find yourself stuck with a topic, stuck with a topic you decided on blindly, you decided on blindly, and yep, the E ending. Well, blinder. Okay, blinder, they're doing the other term. So blindly, we just can use the little circle at the end. Oh, undo. There we go. If you decided on blindly, and now have to stick with it as the deadline is approaching. And now have to stick with it as the deadline is approaching. as the deadline is approaching. Let's go ahead and check and see if that is approaching. And that is correct, APR and then CH. As the deadline is approaching. Check and see if that is deadline. Deadlines. Deadline. Interesting. So that's as the deadline. So this is deadline here. That's deadline. Which means that I should go ahead and adjust that in the dictionary as well, as the deadline is. And then did I already look up approaching? Is approaching. Yes. Good. As the deadline is approaching. Question mark. And how can anyone be surprised? And how can anyone be surprised? I think that's surprised. Let's check that. We need to add the E. And how can anyone be surprised? And how can anyone be surprised that students feel overwhelmed? That students feel overwhelmed. Let's look up whelmed, overwhelmed. And it does do the ND stroke. Overwhelmed with writing assignments, with writing assignments, so that's assignments with writing assignments. Let's check and see if that is correct. Yes. With writing assignments. When they are not taught. When they are not taught how to turn months and years. How to turn months and years of reading, discussing, and research into material they can really use. And that's the end of the sentence, or that's the end of the paragraph. So now let's go back through and reread the paragraph. Let's find our last marker, and it's also after many years. There it is. After many years of working with students, I am convinced that the attempt of these study guides to what? To score a nonlinear, to squeeze. Oh, and I forgot the line. To squeeze a nonlinear process like writing into a linear one, into a linear order, is the main reason. Let me check reason to see if that's the direction that the S goes. And it doesn't. I had the S backwards. Okay, so I need to fix that one right here. Is the main reason. Go back over to here. Is the main reason for the very problems and frustrations they promise. Was it promised? They promise to solve. Out? Is that out? Can you not? So that should, oh, what did I just lost another change because I accidentally pressed the reason. Is the main, yes, curves in, save, and I'll keep my finger away from the undo button. How, so here this needs to have a dot. How can you not have trouble finding a topic if you believe you have to decide on one before you have done your research, have read and learned about something? How can you not feel threatened by empty page if you have learned literally, if you have literally nothing to hand to, if you have literally nothing at hand to fill it with. Who can blame you if procrastinating? Yeah, that's procrastinating. Who can blame you for? Who can blame you for procrastination? Who can blame you for procrastinating if you find yourself stuck with a topic you decided on blindly and now have to stick with it, and you now have to stick with it as the deadline. Let's go ahead and fix this. As the deadline is approaching. And how can anyone be surprised that students feel overwhelmed if with writing assignments when they are not taught how to turn months and years of reading, discussing, and research into material they can really use. Wow. What a sentence. What a line of reasoning. Okay, I am going to be right back. Okay, that back. Now let's proceed. Okay. And we had just finished this paragraph, so now we're going to the next paragraph. Here we go. These study guides which neglect everything before a writing assignment is given. These study guides which neglect. I think neglect is just neg, isn't it? Let's see, which neglect. Let's check that out. Yes. Which neglect everything before a writing assignment, which neglect everything before a writing assignment is given. Given, is that give is given? Yes, they are the same stroke. Before a writing assignment is given. Are a little bit like financial advisors. Are a little bit like financial. That one would be that's financian. Let's see what financial is. Financial. Are a little bit like financial, and then advisors who discuss are a little bit like financial advisors. So let's check advisor. That's advisory. Is advisor. There we go. Advisor. So this is, we take advice and then we just add an R for advisor. A little bit like financial advisors who discuss how 65-year-olds who discuss how 60 come on 65-year-olds year-olds can save for retirement. Oh boy. Can save for retirement. That is retirement. See what that. So it's just RE. We have to have the RE in there, the E stroke. Let's add another page below this. This is page number 6. can save for, and then retirement. At this point, you would be better off curbing your enthusiasm. At this point, is that point? Yes. At this point, you would be better off curbing your enthusiasm. At this point, you would be better. Is that better? Ah, T and then the R. Of course, the R stroke. That's a rookie mistake. You would be better off curbing your enthusiasm. Curbing, so that's curbing. Let's see if that's correct. Yes. Curbing your, and then enthusiasm would be N, thu, N, thu, ziasm. Enthusiasm. Let's see if that's correct. Even shorter. Enthuse. Enthuse. Curbing your enthusiasm. Which is exactly what one of the most often sold, which is exactly what one of the most often sold is that sold. Let's check. Yes, and a little bit more of a curve in the L and not quite as tall of a stand. There we go. Most often sold study guides most often sold study guides in Germany recommends. In Germany recommends. Recommends. First, lower your expectations. Lower your, let me make sure that that's lower. Lower recommends. First, lower your, and then expectation is expectation. Let's see what expectation is. ESP-tion. Yes, so expectation. Expectation. Lower your expectations. Okay. On quality and insight. On quality and insight. And the reference for that is, and of course it is addressing the fear of the blank page. And of course it is addressing the fear of the blank page. It is addressing the, undo. It is addressing the fear of the blank page. And that one is Cruz 2005. Cruz 2005. Okay. Close parenthesis. There we go. And close bracket. All right, so that was that paragraph. So let's go back through and reread the material. So this one was a shorter paragraph. Starts, let's see, it ended really use. There it is. These, and I forgot the paragraph marker, so let's go drop a paragraph marker in there. Here we go. These study guides, which fix that again. Here we go. These study guides, which neglect everything before the writing assignment is given, are a little bit like financial advisors who discuss how 65-year-olds can save for retirement. At this point, you would be better off curbing your enthusiasm, which is what exactly one of the most often sold study guides in Germany recommends. Recommends first, uh, first, first learn of, no, what is that? First, lower. Yeah, so first lower your expectations on quality. And was that quality? Did I check quality? Quality? Ah, yep, so that's not quality. Let's go ahead and fix that. First, lower your expectations on quality. On quality and insight. And then here's the comment and then the reference. And of course, it is addressing the, quote, fear of the blank page. And that one, the reference there is Cruce 2005. All right. Very nice. Let's go ahead and continue. But those who have already developed their thinking, here's the new paragraph, and this time we put a new paragraph marker in. But those who have already developed their thinking, but those who have already developed their thinking through writing, can keep their focus on what is interesting, can keep their interest on what is, no, can keep their focus, can keep their focus on what is interesting for them at the moment, for them at the moment, and accumulate substantial material. And accumulate I have not done yet. Would that be an example of the U8 ending, right? Which is EU. So using that philosophy, if I do AK, accum, and then EUT, accumulate. I think that might be accumulate. Let's check. Oh, okay. Accum. So it's actually accum and then ulate. Accumulate. Okay. So let's go ahead and change that a little bit. We have accumulate underneath. Accumulate. There we go. All right. Accumulate substantial material. Substantial. Sub is going to be sub. That might be, that's not one of the disjointed. What did we decide it was? If it's facing the beginning of the line of writing, it's self. If it's forward, it's If it's forward, it's circ. But isn't there sub as well? No, 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 no. That's right. Sub is simply a joined S, so it would be substantial. So this one would be sub and then stantial. STN, STN, and then the shul ending. Let's see if that's correct. Substantial. Oh, okay. So the whole stroke of sub is in there. Of course. Double S, T, N, and then shul. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Substantial. Like so. Substantial. Material. And let's make this a little bit rounder. There's material. Substantial material just by doing what they most feel like doing. Just by doing what they most feel like doing. And that is a sentence there. I will be right back. Okay, here we are. What they most feel like doing. The material will cluster around the questions they returned to most often. The material the material will cluster around, and I'm pretty sure with around you don't have to do the A because it's implied. Let me confirm. Will cluster around the questions they returned to most often. The questions they returned. So return is return. Let's see if it's even shorter. Return is just RET. They returned to most often. So they don't risk too far of a departure. So they don't risk too far. Far, I believe, is going to be, I think that's the full stroke that's necessary for far. No, just the FA. All right, good. Too far of a departure. Is that a depart and then right? Okay, so for this, you do have to have the R going out. So we'll do departure. Okay. Too far of a departure from their interest. From their interest. Period. If your first chosen topic, if your first is first FS, FES. If your first chosen, I think that's probably chosen CH. So that's the SHOSN with the / backslash. Okay. Chosen. If your first chosen topic turns out to be not as interesting, turns out to be not as interesting, to be not as interesting, you will just move on. You will just move on. Move on should be a phrase. Move on, and your notes will cluster around something else. And your notes will cluster around something else. Maybe you will even note down the reasons. Maybe you will even note down the reasons Why the first question? Why the first question is not interesting. Is not interesting. And turn that into an insight. And turn that into an insight valuable enough valuable enough. Curves under enough to make public. To make public. Okay. All right. When it finally comes to the decision, when it finally, is it the, oh, this one's probably final. Yes, and they do the longer loop underneath. Okay. When it finally comes to the decision, comes to the decision on what to write about, on what to write about, you will already have made the decision. You will already have made the decision on what to write about. On what to write about. When it finally comes to the decision on what to write about, you will, where's you will? You will already have made the decision because you made it on every single step. You will already have made the decision. Because on every single step along the way, again and again, every day, again and again, every day, improving it gradually, because you made it on every single step along the way, again and again, every day, improving it gradually. Improving it gradually. Let's see if that's correct. Gradually requires Gradle. So I have to do the LE at the end. Gradually. There we go. Improving it gradually. Instead of spending your time worrying, instead of spending your time worrying. There we go. Instead of spending your time worrying about finding the right topic, about finding the right topic, you will spend your time. You will spend your time actually working on your already existing interests. Actually working on your already exist. This is backwards S, right? Existing. Let's see here. Yes. On your already existing interests. Okay. Working on your already existing interests and doing what is necessary to make informed decision. And doing what is necessary to make informed decisions. And doing what is necessary to make informed decisions. Let's go ahead and check decisions. Correct. A little bit more of a sharp turn, so this needs to be just a little bit clearer. Decisions. And the SH comes down just a hair more. Decisions. Okay. And that was informed, and that's italicized, so we have 2 lines under that to show the italics. Let me check informed to see in case there's any special. No, that looks pretty clear. The F needs to curve just a little bit more. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that here. The in is shorter. Informed, like that. Informed decisions. Okay. And then what do we have after that? Okay. Then it's followed by a hyphen. Reading, thinking, and writing. I'm not understanding. Instead of spending your time worrying about finding the right topic, you will spend your time actually working on your already existing interests and doing what is necessary to make informed decisions. And these are the three things that are necessary in order to make informed decisions. Reading, thinking, and writing. By doing the work, you can trust that interesting questions will emerge. By doing the work, you can trust that interesting questions will emerge. You can trust that interesting questions will emerge. And let me make sure that that was correct. Trust. What a nice word, trust. Let's look at... Nope, let's see here. Trust. TR. Oh, no need for the no need for the U hook. It's just TRS. You can trust. That interesting questions will, and then let's check emerge. And that's correct. Good. All right. Almost there. 2 more sentences, I think, then this paragraph is done. You might not know where you will end up. You might not know where you will end up. And you don't need to. And you don't need to. But you can't force insight. But you can't force insight into a preconceived direction anyway. But you can't force insight into a I think I need a little bit more room for preconceived, because that's the one which is preconceived. Is that all one phrase, I think? Let's see. Conceived. Preconceived. That's not correct. Let me take a look at that. Preconceived is just the sieved ending is SE. Okay, so we do that down here. The preconceived direction anyway. And direction is direction, right? Let's look up direction. Direction. DRK, and then shun. So we need both. DRK, preconceived direction, any way. Any way. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break now. I've got another job that I have to work on for about an hour or so, and we'll get that squared away and be back to it, do a few more hours. I won't, I have another obligation this evening, so I won't be able to do some practice, which is why I want to get as much done as I can now. So hope everyone's having a wonderful day and afternoon, and I am really appreciating getting all this practice in. I feel it's so interesting to be working with the shorthand in connection with the note-taking paradigm, because it really does seem that my intuition at first, that they are two sides of the same coin, is definitely aligned, in that if Sonke Ahrens is correct, that all of the academic process is about the work, and the work is reading, thinking, and writing, then that means that these three tools that I'm working on developing, mainly efficiency of the hand, efficiency of the category, and efficiency of the memory, are going to serve me well in this process. So it's a worthy venture, and if anything, it will at least inform other people, almost like as they, if you go down a pathway and you see the all the skeletons lying on the road, it's probably not a good direction to be going in. But I trust that this path will be better, and it will not end up with a skeleton or a wreck. All right, well, thank you so much, and I wish you all well, and I will see you in a little bit. Take care. Bye-bye.